Okay by you?
Yes,
okay.
Right.
Well, here I am on Thursday in April, and I'm at the house of Irene Connor, and I'm very grateful to have been invited in. And Irene, you've lived in Rodborough since you were born, I think.
Not since I was born. No, I was born in Canada, and my parents were there, and they came back here just after the First World War, so it would be about 1920. I was born in 1917.
Right.
They came back in 1920, which was a terrible time, just after the First World War, Great Depression everywhere, and of course they had nowhere to live, so a cousin of my mother's lived opposite, one of those tall houses like that one there, only the next again. My mother's cousin and her husband lived there with two little boys, so we moved in with them, which I lived there for about 3 years, I suppose, or 4 years. And during that time my father was a carpenter, the village carpenter, and he bought this piece of land which was 3 what am I going to say now, gardens, like, allotments, that's right. It was divided into 3 allotments, and it had railings down the front with 3 gates in. And so he bought this piece here. He built this shed, which is still there behind for his workshop, and he set about building the house next door, which is there, like that one. That house there, he built it on the style of Canada where he'd lived, and it was the same style that they had lived in, and it was called Maplehurst on account of that's why. And of course, being a carpenter, he liked wood. He liked to build everything solid and, to last. Yeah. And so they built that house there, and I suppose we moved in when I was about 9 in there. And we lived there, they lived there all the rest of their lives. And of course, do you want me to ramble on?
You carry on, Mrs.
It came to the wartime, you see, and I was the only child, and I'd gone in the forces, and when I came out I wanted to be married, and my husband had been in the forces, and we had nowhere to live, and it was terrible trying to find anywhere. And although we were told that those of us who'd served in the forces would have a sort of a preference, it didn't work out like that at all. And so my father said, there's just room in the garden to build a little house. How about that? So we said yes, and that's how this house was built. So this little house is a hand-built house, all wood, and nice things which he built there, and I cherish it for that reason.
I noticed all the wood when I came in.
Yeah, well, it's lovely, and the stairs are all nice and wood, and it's just right size for me now. As a widow, I can manage quite well. So
he must have been an extraordinary man.
He was absolutely 100% Christian carpenter. He believed fair play all along the line. Didn't matter what time of day or night, people would come to the back door. Mr. Davis, our sash cord's broken, and away he would go, take his kit and mend this, because in those days it was all these sash and the door, if something happened, the wind had blown the door in. He was always on call to neighbours to do different things. But his dearest love was making handmade furniture, and that's what he did when he could. When he got orders to do nice furniture, that's what he did. If you see my table, look. My table and all my chairs, everything is things on this table here. Look, it's all made, things that he made. So I inherited really 100% Christian carpenter. He believed absolutely, in his Christian belief that he would do a good turn for anybody, fair play, and he never charged anybody a penny more than he could possibly help. So he was never a rich man. He didn't, in those days, he valued, integrity more than cash, which is a great way to be, really. Yeah. So I do cherish the memory of that. And they lived on next door. My father was 80 4, I think, when he died, and my mother was 91, so I had my parents to look after, you see, so that's why we stayed there. And now that's absolutely ideal for me on my own here, and that's how I come to be here.
Well, that's really, I mean, every word that you said, you used the word cherished, and I've cherished every word that you said. And fascinating to think, looking up at the picture there, that it's harkening back to Canada. And now that you said it, I can see that.
Yeah, well, the people next door, it's just been sold again, and some more young people have moved in there. Different people, of course, have made their mark on there. The one man blocked in all the front, took away the veranda, which was a great pity. It took the character away from the place, really. But that's the way he wanted it, and I could have no say in it at all. That's what he wanted. But this young couple that's in now are very much keeping things nice, going to do all sorts. So they've only been in, well, a few weeks, so I'm sure that they're going to, they think the house is lovely, and it is, it's, it's got value in it then. A lot of property today, you get rotten wood, you get bad things, but everything that they've got is good. And the same in here. Look, I've got a very lovely wooden floor, which you can see underneath the carpet.
Yes.
Everything is nice and wooden in here. So I cherish living here for that reason.
Where did do you know where your family lived in Canada?
Yes, in Toronto, in Canada. He must have gone out prior to the 1914 war, I think, because in those days they were encouraging young men to go out to do trades, and I think that's what he thought he was going to do. But how they came to decide to come back, there'd been the war in between, the First World War, which was grim, and of course the family here, all the family were here, and I suppose they had a nostalgia, they wanted to come back. But it wasn't a good time to come back. Very depressing. Anyway, my father never, he said he never wanted for anything, the Lord provided, and as far as he was concerned, as long as he had enough and work to do and all the rest of it, he never craved any big things in life, and it's a wonderful heritage that I inherited from him, really, because those principles, I suppose, have stayed with me. I value important things in life. I don't value personal or frivolous things at all.
So it's and your mother works at home. She was, as it were, a housewife.
She was a housewife. Yes, well, they were local people. She came from King's Court, and he was from Rodborough. And so in those days, they all met at Rodborough Tabernacle. And young people, they were in all the different things, and they were sweethearts then. And they were a very devoted couple, really. And she was a gentle, sweet lady. Well, you can see she's there, and she, she never, you would never find her arguing with anybody or she was just gentle and lovely.
So I think in a way, the next question you can just answer and wherever you want to go, because it's such an open-ended question. So it's how do you think Rodborough has changed over your time here?
Oh, fantastically. It doesn't bear any resemblance to when I was a child. This area here we were taken into Stroud, this little bit here of Rodborough, up as far as the crossroads, because they wanted to increase the rates. And so we were Rodborough really, but they took this little bit down into Stroud. So we came part of Stroud, and I suppose that would have been in the 30s when that happened, and so we were supposed to get the benefits, but I don't know that we did. We had a rough old road out here, all cobblestones. The Rodborough Hill was a cobblestone hill, and I can remember when I was at school, and I was about 8 or 9, when they came to put the surface on the road, and of course we children were absolutely arrested. We were all there in a gang to watch where they were putting this tarmac stuff down, with a big